What's up, guys? Big Herm from Big Herm Draws the World here. Today, I'm going to be showing you the basics of how to draw. Starting off with shapes and learning how to turn those shapes into 3D shapes. So first, I'm going to show you this image. This is Rose. This is Rose from Doctor Sleep. And I'm super big into this movie. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend it. I'm going to show you how I start my faces and how I look at faces in an artistic way. So I'm going to come here and I'm just going to draw a line straight down her face. And I'm using Procreate here to do this, which is an app that is for drawing on the iPad. So I draw this basic outline of her face, of her eyes and nose. So I know where to be putting the eyes and the nose. Same with the lips. I come through and I know there's where the lips belong. And I see her face she has this kind of rounded end here. So I would start off with a circle for her face right here. So in this circle, I can already see, let me erase that. I can already see that her nostrils here are also circles. Let's just find all the circles. Her nose itself is an oval. Look at her eyes. Let's erase here. Her eyes are also circle. And here is actually almost like an oval there for her eye. We'll go to this side, do the same thing for this eye. There's also a circle with almost an oval there. You can even do the shading around her eye, which I wouldn't recommend until the end, but just for the purpose is also an oval and is also an oval. And her lips here also, if you do this, is an oval. And here is also, this is like a oval sunset kind of looking object. So basically, you have the start to a face here just by using circles. You can do the same thing with the circles, even you're using ovals and stuff above her eyebrows here, which you could split into two if you really wanted. So you can just see how the face is built up of different shapes, starting off with just circles. Now, you can do the same thing, but add in different shapes. So here, this whole bulk of her cheek here, I would say, is a sort of square figure. And I would say that for both sides of her face. Oops. She has these very square cheeks. And her chin here would be a circle. And then this would also be another square shape. And eventually you'll just continue to do this and build this up and realize just how many shapes a person has in just their face. And I mean, it's crazy. You can keep going all day. I'm going to erase these lines here. These are triangles out here on the side of her head. There's a triangle there on the side of her head. And so basically this is a basic outline of just shapes that you're going to be using and developing to look like lips and eyes and noses and all that good stuff. If you want to look at her hat here, her hat is also symmetrical. So you draw a line there, and this whole thing is really just one big square. Right? The top of the hat is an ellipse. And the entire bottom part here is also an ellipse. You wouldn't go all the way through with it because then it's starting her face, but just for this purpose, you could see the ellipse go through. And you can even do this with the hair. You can see in her hair she's got a triangle there, a triangle here, actually a diamond, some triangles there, this whole part here, one big square, so forth. This whole part here of her neck, if you cut that in half, square, built into another square. So really, if you look at faces like shapes, let's get rid of the image. This is what your start of your drawing could potentially look like if you're gonna go this route of drawing all the shapes out. And then from here you would go into making it 3D and all that good stuff. So now we will go into 3D shapes. So now we'll do 3D shapes. So the first we will do is a cylinder. So I'm gonna take that. If you swipe 3 down, you can copy that. And then you swipe again and paste, which will give me the next part of the cylinder there. And then for a cylinder, you need 4 parts. You need 2 ellipses and 2 straight lines. So let me draw on the straight lines. There's one there. And one there, and you have yourself a cylinder. Now, it's a really good idea to practice these shapes and practice cylinders and doing squares, which is another good one. Using 3D shapes helps your images become more realistic. So if you wanted to do this version of squares, so you made yourself a 3-dimensional square. In the inside, you can erase out the parts. So now you have a 3D square. And it's important to make the 3D shapes as perfect as you can, especially with humans, because you want to make things look realistic, like a finger. So doing your finger, let me find you an example of this, is actually, we'll use Johnny Depp here. It's actually very simple to make fingers and hands once you get the basics, which is, if you look at this, whoops. If you look at this, this is a square. Down here is an ellipse. So that's a cylinder. And each finger, we'll start off over here, is its own cylinder. And I stop at the knuckles. So there's a cylinder. And here the tip of his finger, oops, too big. The tips of his finger that come to here. And you come across there, that's another cylinder. And you come down here. That's another cylinder. And basically, to make hands, you just build these cylinders, because those are the basic shapes of the fingers. So doing 3D shapes is actually very important in art, because if in realism stuff, because if you wanted to make something very realistic, you wouldn't want to draw fingers that look like this. Right? You would want to make those fingers look more realistic, and by doing so, with 3D shapes, you can get a more realistic look to your fingers. So here is a little hand I just built out of a cylinder, and that looks pretty close to how Johnny's hand looks with using cylinders. And I'll actually take him out there so you can see. Let me finish doing that side there for you. So that is basically just the basics. Then you go into doing details and doing all that good stuff, which everybody does first and really wants to get out of the way. Is everybody wants to, you know, come in, draw the eyes, the eyelid, and get cracking on their drawing. But really, you should take your time and really build out the basic shapes of the person and the object you want to draw, because you want it to have that 3D shape. Now, the way that I use Procreate and I use the iPad is I take the image and the actual shape that I see with the shading. Oops. So say it's Johnny's nose right here is a little lighter. So I would hold there to capture the color, and I'd come up the middle, and now I know that that's light there, and there's dark here. And this is what I personally like to do with all my drawings, and that's how I complete my drawings is, is when I do my drawings, I do the shape that the shadows leave. So eventually you would continue to build that up, and then you would have a full image of different hues in the face, and all faces have many colors. Even in a black and white photo, you have a lighter color, darker color here in the lips. So here you have a darker color than this. You have a darker color. You have a darker color here than you do up here, right? And then the lips, like I said, are darker or lighter than here in the mouth. But then you also see that there's light hitting there and all that. That's how I do my drawings on Procreate, is I get all of the highlights and the darkness and details, and then I build off of there. So that concludes our basic start to our my YouTube channel here on Big Herm Draws the World. Just wanted to show you some basics, some fun little tips of drawing a face. You'd want to build up a structure, and you want to use shapes and 3D shapes to, like that, to start off your drawing, really. And from there, then it's just building in the details and making sure you have the right shadows, shading, colors, all that good stuff, which will be coming next in future videos. So please, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and follow my Instagram page, Big Herm Draws the World 1998.